You know the song, right? The 12 Days of Christmas? But what if we thought about it differently? What if there were 12 stages of Christmas? Not a fun countdown, but a kind of map of all the complex and, yes, sometimes really difficult human experiences that this season can bring up.
So I want to start with a question, just for you. When you think of Christmas, what's the first feeling that really comes to mind? Is it just pure, simple joy? Or is it a little more complicated than that? Just take a second. Be really honest with yourself about what that feels like.
Because look, for a lot of people, the ideal is exactly what we see on the left. It's all about joy, family, warmth. But we have to be honest. For so many others, the reality is a lot closer to what's on the right. It can be a season that's just filled with grief, or this deep sense of loneliness, or even the sharp pain of feeling left out.
And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to look directly at that other side. Now, the point isn't to be a downer or take away from anyone's joy. Not at all. It's about building a more complete, a more compassionate understanding of what this season holds for everyone.
And to do that, we kind of have to start at the furthest, most difficult end of the spectrum. We're talking stage -6. It's a state of despair and rejection. I mean, this is a place of such deep suffering that the whole idea of Christmas can feel completely meaningless or even kind of absurd.
So what does that actually feel like? Well, people in this stage feel truly abandoned, like the world has just forgotten they exist. They are absolutely not thinking about parties or presents. They are in pure survival mode, focused on the basics, like shelter or just trying to get through an overwhelming wave of grief. It's this feeling of being completely and totally overlooked.
The source material for this has this incredibly powerful analogy. I want you to picture this. Imagine you're deep underwater, and way up on the surface there's a party happening on a boat. You might see the blurry, faint glow of the lights, but you can't hear any of the music, you can't hear the laughter. Your whole world is just the pressure, the cold, the deep, and the struggle for air. That is the isolation of stage -6. So how in the world do we navigate a territory this complex? Well, a psychologist named Dr. Shungu developed something called the 6 Stages Framework. And you can just think of it as a map. It's a map that helps us understand not only our own feelings during this time of year, but also the experiences of everyone around us.
And here it is. This is the whole map. You can see it runs all the way from that stage -6, despair, that we just talked about, all the way up to stage +6, which is about being a beacon of change. But here's the key. This isn't just a description of feelings. It's a practical guide for how to care for yourself and for others, no matter where you happen to find yourself on the spectrum.
And this right here is where this whole framework becomes so incredibly useful. It's not just theory, it's so practical. It directly connects an emotional state, right, like feeling invisible at stage -4, to a simple, concrete thing you can actually do, like just saying hello to someone. Or if you're feeling cynical at stage -2, it suggests finding one small thing that feels real. It's all about turning that awareness into actual care.
Okay, so the most important part of any map, right, is knowing how to change direction. So let's look at the critical turning point in this whole framework. That moment we start to move away from isolation and start heading toward hope and connection. So how does that journey upward even begin? Well, it's not some giant leap. It starts with these really small internal shifts. First up is just awareness. Literally just pausing to notice how you really feel with no judgment. Then comes willingness, just opening the door a tiny crack to let a little bit of hope in. And from there, it can grow into curiosity, a real desire to understand what other people are going through. And once that little internal shift starts to happen, that's when we can actually start to build bridges. This is the part where we move from just understanding what's going on to taking compassionate, meaningful action out in the world around us. Oh, I love this next analogy for what this framework helps us do. Think of it like a lighting board in a theater. So often, all of our attention is on the people who are brightly lit, right in the center of the stage. But this framework, it helps us see everyone, especially the people standing quietly in the shadows. And it gives us the power to adjust the lights so that every single person can feel seen. So it's pretty clear this is a powerful tool for empathy, right? But what about for ourselves? This isn't just about watching other people. It's a real practical guide for building up our own resilience during a season that can be, let's be honest, incredibly demanding. So the survival guide boils it down to 3 really simple but powerful things you can do. First, protect your peace. Know your limits, say no when you need to. Second, stay connected. That means to yourself and also to people who feel safe and supportive. And third, give a little light. A simple text, a quick check-in on someone, it can make all the difference. So many of us know this line, right?
It's from that famous Band-Aid song from the 80s. And it's this really haunting question about whether people are aware of suffering that's happening far away.
But maybe after all these years, it's time we reframe that question. Instead of asking if they know, maybe the more important question is, do we see who's being left out? Right here, in our own communities, our own workplaces, maybe even in our own families. The focus shifts from this passive question about them to a really active and personal one about us.
And that question leads right into the final personal challenge that this whole framework puts in front of us. It's not just about seeing, it's about doing. How can you, in your own life, in your own way, make space for someone else's story?
Because, in the end, that's really what this is all about. It's not about huge, grand gestures. It's about finding ways to build bridges of empathy, even small ones. In fact, especially the small ones, because those are so often the ones that matter the most.